This is college algebra, and we are finishing up our discussion on piecewise defined functions. We got one last little part of it here, and that is one application and then evaluating piecewise defined functions. So here we've got a step function, and the situation reads, the cost of weekend service calls by AirTech services is shown by the graph below. Write a piecewise defined function that represents the cost for service during the first 5 hours as defined by the graph. So we can see here, okay, that from 0 to 1 hour, the cost is $330. This is if we're going to let x equal hours. 0 is less than x is less than or equal to 1. Then just past 1, we jump up to 550. If 1 is less than x is less than or equal to 2. Then from 2 to 5, we jump up to 770. If 2 is less than x is less than or equal to 5. So that's the way we would write this step function. Finally, we're going to talk about evaluating these functions. So here we're given two-way piecewise functions. We're given 4 of them, and we're asked to evaluate f of -1 and f of 3 for each of them. Of course, that's if it's possible. So let's look at number 1. What would be f of -1? Well, this one's defined at a fence of 1, so the piece that is x is less or x is equal to -1 is the first piece. So f of -1 is equal to 5, but f of 3 is the second piece because x is greater than 1 there. So f of 3 is 6. Okay, for number 2, f of -1 is equal to, all right, so we see here that -1 is not included in this subdomain, all right? So f of -1 is equal to +4. It doesn't equal -2 because this doesn't have an equal sign. So just at -1, we jump up to 4. However, let's see, f of, oh yes, this is correct, f of 3, okay, hold on, f of -1, this is for x is greater than 0, it's not x is equal to -1. This is not defined. Okay, or no solution. I'm seeing this now, okay, because this is defined of 4, but only if x is greater than or equal to 0. There is no definition for f of x when x is equal to -1. Do you see that? Because x does not equal -1 here, nor does it equal -1 here. The graph starts at 0. All right, glad we cleared that up. So this one's not possible or not defined. So that's probably why the directions say if possible. However, f of 3 is 4 because it is defined for the domain x is greater than 0. All right. For number 3, f of -1, okay, -1 falls in the first part of this domain, so we're going to plug in -1 in for x. Okay, -1 squared is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, so f of -1 is 0. However, in the second part, f of 3, we're going to use the second half because x is greater than or equal to 0 here, so I plug in 3 into x cubed plus 2. X cubed is 27 plus 2 is 29. And then finally, f of -1, I use the first part of this piecewise function because the domain is x is less than 3, and negative 1 falls there. So I have 3 times negative 1 plus 1. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. And then at f of 3, I use this second half because it is equal to 3 here. I plug in 3 in for x squared, and I get that 3 squared is 9.